Oh yes, I touched on migration, didn't I? By mistake, you could say. But let me follow it up. Migration's one thing. Invasion's another. And I don't know where the fine line is between the two. Besides, it's irrelevant. If you want to help other people, go and help them. That doesn't mean to say you have to have them in your country. They've not got to work for you. They've not got to contribute to your society. You're doing pretty good. You know, the countries that they're trying to get into are doing pretty good compared to where they've come from. But you don't have to open your doors completely to everybody and just get swamped. That's an invasion. If you're truly concerned about them, help them where they are. But of course, make sure they are helped. Don't just hand the money over and, let it be siphoned off to whoever. Get there. Say, we'll help with so-and-so. You want so-and-so, we'll provide. We'll provide the resources, make it possible. And I don't mean loan. I don't mean put them in debt. I mean give. Give. Look at the reputation New Zealand's got for just being, a kind country, a kind society. It's not as kind as every of its inhabitants would want it to be by any means. Of course not. But I mean, that's not the point. You can learn the lesson, can't you? Give. Don't necessarily trade. You can come off much better than the other guy who's, yes, he is marginally improving, but for how long and, what's the consequence and so on? Whilst you reap the lion's share. If you want to give. Decide. I'm going to give 10% of the national income. Yes, something reasonable, 10%. That's reasonable from both points of view. You simply say, what is the national income? How much should we be giving? And how should we give it? How should we make sure that it's achieving the good that we want it to achieve, if they're willing to have it, of course? They may just see it's an invasion and it be resisted. Well, okay. We're not here to force something down your throat you don't want. Come to help. Can we help in other ways? What ways would be a help, given you know our purpose, which is to help those that need help, truly need help. We've not come to make the rich richer. There's no point. They're okay. And when I say 10% of your national income, you've got to measure it validly. There's no point in saying our standard of living is reflected in, the quantity of goods bought, if most of the goods go to the rich anyway. That's no measure of welfare. You need a measure of welfare. And of this, how can we give 10%? Yes, we'll go down in standard of living by a mere 10%. We'd make that up in a few years at a reasonable growth rate. And still be giving 10% of a greater income. It's a win-win situation. You win friends. People are self-interested. If you meet their needs, they're just so happy to know you. They're not trying to bomb you out of existence all the time. It's as simple as that. We have come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. We're not going to ram our culture down their necks. You've not got to come here to absorb our culture, or we're not going to help you. You can just rot. That's not kindness. You can't keep your family where you are. Right. How can we help? Not you have to migrate and hopefully send the money back home and everything turns to custard because you can't get a job here anyway and you're being exploited by an economic system that doesn't truly recognize your need, only recognizes your worth in a market situation. And you may not be of much worth in their culture, in their market situation. You know, we don't have a need for your skill or your labour. You're brilliant in your environment, just as we are. Put us in your environment, we're a miserable failure. Well, we just lose hope. And you too. How many of your migrants have just lost hope? It's not the wonderful hope that they had. It's not kindness to necessarily have them live with you. You know, I see a chap on the street. He needs food. I don't say, come to tea. I don't want, quite honestly, his fleas and lice in my living room. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes like that. I've known people shake hands with me that I've thought twice about whether I want to shake hands with them because I've got skin infections off people that I've shaken hands with. I've been in the Salvation Army, mate. We embrace and shake hands with everybody. It's a nightmare. I loved being in the Salvation Army, actually. It gave me the opportunity to just... Well, we had a midweek service. The ones that came on Sunday didn't come to it. The church, the Citadel. But the ones from the street who needed to come, they came. And we had a much better time than on a Sunday. We had a worship time. We had testimony time. We had sharing food time. We were in fellowship, and as far as we could. No, I didn't invite them all back to my house. No, I'm worlds apart. Goodness, I'm worlds apart to a Kiwi. I'm an Englishman. Worse, I'm almost a Victorian Englishman. I still wear a tie if I get the opportunity. They don't let me in New Zealand. They say, you're going to an interview? Why are you wearing a tie? It keeps me warm. Mm. I'm a migrant. They should never have let me in. I'm a menace. They're very lovable people. They're incredibly gullible, I'm afraid. That's why anything the world wants to test out, they test it out on New Zealand. You know, FPOS cards and things like that. You probably have never heard of FPOS cards. They're much better than checkbooks, I can tell you. I've said enough. I've said too much. Hey, and that's a point too. Don't say too much. There's no point. Don't keep shouting at people that don't want to hear. There's no need. When they're ready, they'll ask. When they're ready, they'll think, oh, we could ask him what his view is. Well, I'm not sure if we want to follow that, do you? No, it's got a point on so-and-so. Interesting, anyway. And they carry on the way they're going. Of course, we're children. It takes time, it takes experience, consequences, learning. But we're growing up by the grace of God. We're getting the lessons we need. Sometimes they're quite heavy and difficult, of course. Yes, that's true. But it makes us wake up, doesn't it? To what really matters. Bless you. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.